Welcome to the deep dive. We're here again, doing what we love, taking some really compelling material and pulling out the key ideas for you.
Right? Giving you that focused understanding without you having to wade through everything yourself.
Exactly. Think of it as your kind of express route to getting informed on some fascinating topics.
And today, we're plunging into a work that's really stood the test of time. It keeps resonating with people looking into personal growth, understanding the mind's potential.
Yeah, we're talking about Florence Scovel Shinn's The Game of Life and How to Play It. Now, our main source here is the audiobook, the one narrated by Sarah Partridge, put out by Master Key Society.
And it's amazing this book was self-published way back in 1925, but the insights, still surprisingly relevant.
Totally. Florence Scovel Shinn, she was quite a voice back in the early 20th century. You know, a time with big shifts happening and how people thought about society, spirituality.
Oh, absolutely. Her work definitely tapped into something powerful back then, and you can see its appeal hasn't really faded much at all.
So, what's our mission today? With this deep dive, we really want to boil down the essence of Shinn's main teachings for you.
Yeah, we'll be getting into her views on the just immense power of our words.
The crucial role faith plays in conquering fear.
That really intriguing idea she has about a unique divine design for every single person.
And of course, the wisdom of trusting our intuition, like using it as a personal compass.
And as we explore these, we'll definitely pull out some of Shinn's most impactful quotes. We'll also look at how her ideas kind of connect with modern concepts like, manifestation.
Right, which so many people are exploring now.
Exactly. And importantly, we'll share some simple, practical steps you can actually try out.
Things you can maybe start integrating right away. We'll also touch briefly on the world Florence lived in, the context, just for a bit of background. Okay, ready to jump in?
Let's do it.
So what's really at the heart of this game of life idea, according to Shinn?
Well, fundamentally, Shinn flips the script on life instead of seeing it as this constant struggle or battle.
Yeah, which many people do.
Right. She reframes it as a game, but a game with specific rules. And these aren't just random rules. She sees them as spiritual laws, principles she pulls heavily from the Old and New Testaments to illustrate.
Okay, and one of the biggest rules she hammers home is that classic principle of sowing and reaping. She quotes Galatians, right? Whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap.
But she takes it further than just actions.
Yep.
Shinn really emphasizes that this sowing includes our words, too. Very much so.
So what we say matters just as much as what we do.
Absolutely. She's crystal clear. Whatever energy, whatever vibe you put out there, through speech, through deeds, it's going to come back to you. Give out hate, criticism, lies. Expect that back.
But give out love, praise, honesty.
And you'll reap those positive results. It's a very direct cause and effect she's laying out. Simple, but profound.
And then she brings in this really fascinating idea of our imaging faculty, our imagination. She sees it as a key player in the whole game.
Huge player. She quotes Proverbs, "Keep thy heart or imagination with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." Basically, what you hold in your mind is incredibly significant.
So what we picture internally
Shapes our external reality. Shinn really stresses this. What we consistently imagine, she says, we will eventually see it manifest. She tells this pretty stark story about a man.
Oh, yeah.
He got obsessed with fearing this rare disease, constantly pictured himself having it, and guess what? It actually materialized in his body, and he died from it.
Wow. That's intense. A powerful illustration, though.
Very powerful. It really highlights the link she saw between imagination and physical reality.
She has that vivid phrase for imagination, too, the scissors of the mind.
Yeah, I love that. It's constantly cutting out these pictures we hold inside, and those become the blueprints for what we experience outside.
Yeah.
It really makes you think about what you're focusing on.
So how does this actually work? Did she have a model for the mind?
She did. She drew on some older ideas, talking about three parts: the subconscious, the conscious, and the superconscious. Let's maybe unpack the subconscious first, how she saw it.
Okay. So the subconscious, in her view, it's like this raw, potent force, but it doesn't have its own direction.
Exactly. Think steam, think electricity. Huge potential, but needs guiding. And crucially, she says, it doesn't initiate anything itself. It just acts on the feelings we hold really deeply, or the scenarios we imagine vividly and consistently.
It just executes the program, basically.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And she gives this poignant example. A woman who, as a child, played this game where she pretended to be a widow, dressed up in black, the whole thing, repeatedly.
Oh, no.
Yeah, this powerful image got deeply stamped onto her subconscious through that repetition. And tragically, later in life, her husband died young. Shinn uses this to show the subconscious just carries out the picture, regardless of the havoc it might cause, or if we consciously want it.
That's quite sobering. Okay, so then there's the conscious mind.
Right, the conscious mind. Shinn calls this the mortal or carnal mind. This is our everyday awareness, our logical brain that sees the world as it appears right now, often focusing on limitations, right? Death, sickness, poverty, problems.
The stuff we see reported all the time.
Exactly. And according to Shinn, this conscious mind is constantly feeding these perspectives, these limitations, into the subconscious.
Okay, so conscious mind sees limits, impresses them on the subconscious, but then there's the superconscious.
Ah, yes, the superconscious. This is where Shinn sees the sort of divine spark. She calls it the God mind within each man. It's the realm of perfect ideas, infinite potential. She connects it to Plato's divine design.
The divine design, meaning there's a perfect plan for each of us.
That's the idea. A unique purpose, a perfect blueprint for your life specifically. This ideal image, she says, sits in the superconscious, and sometimes it flashes into our conscious mind maybe as a dream, an aspiration, something that feels almost too good to be true, an unattainable ideal.
That feeling of deep potential, maybe. The thing we often dismiss as unrealistic.
Precisely. And Shinn suggests a lot of people are striving for things that aren't actually aligned with their true destiny, which might explain why achieving certain goals doesn't bring that deep satisfaction we expect.
Interesting. Does she give an example of this?
She does, a really good one. A woman fixated on marrying a specific man, let's call him AB. Shinn didn't just affirm, you'll get AB.
Why not?
Because, Shinn explained, that might interfere with a higher plan. Instead, she guided the woman to pray for the right man, the divine selection, the partner who was perfectly matched for her by divine right, trusting a higher wisdom, essentially.
Ah, so introducing the idea of letting go of the specific outcome.
Exactly. And this brings in what Shinn calls the law of substitution. If AB wasn't the divinely right person, the universe would substitute someone even better suited.
And did it work?
It did. The woman met another man who cherished her just like she'd always wanted AB to. And her feelings for AB completely vanished. It's a powerful story about trusting that something better might be in store if you let go of specifics.
That really ties into Jesus' teaching, doesn't it? Seek ye first the kingdom of God.
Yes. Shinn directly connects it. She interprets that kingdom not as some place out there, but as the inner realm of these perfect divine ideas within us. Align with that, she says, and the external stuff. All these things will naturally be added.
And she keeps coming back to the words we use, that quote from Jesus. By your words ye are justified, and by your words ye are condemned. She really believed our everyday language shapes things.
Immensely. She shares a couple of quite stark cautionary tales about that. One woman was always complaining about her house, saying she wished she lived in a trunk just to escape the hassle.
Okay.
Well, circumstances shifted, she fell into poverty, and literally ended up living out of a trunk.
Whoa! Be careful what you wish for. Literally.
Right. And another woman constantly joked about ending up in the poorhouse. She later faced near destitution. Shinn's point is blunt. The subconscious takes you at your word. No sense of humor about this stuff.
But it's not all doom and gloom, right? This law works positively, too. Lack can be changed.
Absolutely. That's the flip side. She tells this really uplifting story about a woman who was down to her very last $8.
Okay, desperate situation.
Very. Shinn advised her to do two things. First, bless the money she had, acknowledge it positively, and second, crucially, pay attention to her intuitive feelings.
Ah, intuition comes in here. How did Shinn define that?
She called it tuition, or to be taught from within. Basically, our infallible inner guidance system. So this woman with the $8 gets this strong, illogical feeling just to go home.
Against reason, maybe?
Yeah, maybe she had other plans, but she listened. And Shinn spoke this powerful affirmation for her. Infinite Spirit, open the way for great abundance for her name. She is an irresistible magnet for all that belongs to her by divine right.
And what happened?
The outcome was amazing. By following that hunch, going home, she ran into an old family friend she hadn't seen in ages. And this friend, completely out of the blue, gave her thousands of dollars. It really highlights Shinn's belief. Abundance is always there on our path, but it often comes through desire, faith, the spoken word, and being guided by that inner knowing, that intuition.
So we also need to take some initiative. We can't just sit back.
Definitely not passive. She quotes, "Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you." And she even references scripture saying, "Concerning the works of my hands, command ye me."
Command you me. That sounds bold.
It does, but she interprets it as every desire we have, spoken or unspoken, is basically a demand placed on infinite intelligence,
Yeah.
a request we're entitled to make.
Interesting take. She even shared a personal story, didn't she? About a rose tree.
Yeah, a lovely little one. She wished for a rose tree at Easter, just held the thought. A friend was sending her flowers, lilies actually, but somehow, through a mix-up or intervention, a beautiful rose tree arrived instead.
A small thing, but it showed her the principle in action.
Exactly. Setting the law in motion through clear intention. Okay, so we've got the power of words, the impact of imagination. Where does she go next?
Well, building on that foundation of thoughts and words, she really zeroes in on the absolutely critical role of faith, specifically in overcoming fear.
Right. She puts it very bluntly. The only real things standing between us and our highest ideals, our deepest desires, are doubt and fear. Nothing else.
And she suggests something quite radical, that if we could genuinely wish for something without worrying about it.
It would manifest instantly. Yeah, that's the ideal she points to.
That sounds challenging, for most of us anyway.
Oh,
Worry seems pretty default.
it does. And Shinn totally gets how pervasive fear is. She calls it our number one enemy, fear of lack, fear of failure, sickness, loss, insecurity, all its forms.
She quotes Jesus again here, right?
Yeah.
Why are ye fearful, O ye of little faith?
Exactly. Directly linking lack of faith with being fearful. So her solution is simple but not easy. Substitute faith for fear. Actively replace it.
And she had that interesting definition of fear, inverted faith.
Yeah, I find that really insightful. Fear isn't just the absence of faith. It's faith directed wrongly. It's belief in a negative outcome, belief in evil instead of good.
So you're putting your faith in the bad stuff happening.
Precisely. So the whole object of this game of life, as she sees it, is to get a clear vision of the good you want, and then systematically wipe out those mental pictures of evil, of fear, by impressing the subconscious with good, with faith.
She tells the story about the man and the sign.
Oh, the why worry sign.
Yeah.
Yes, a brilliant man, she says, who completely transformed his life by internalizing the message on a sign. Why worry? It will probably never happen.
Just that simple phrase.
He didn't just read it, he absorbed it, made it a deep conviction. And because he truly believed only good could come to him, that's mostly what manifested. It shows the power of planting one strong belief.
So the subconscious is like this faithful servant.
But it needs clear orders, very clear orders. It's like this silent listener, she says, a sensitive recording disc capturing every thought, every word.
Which is why she encourages us to actively break all the old bad records.
Exactly. Those ingrained patterns of lack, failure, sickness, bad relationships, whatever unwanted experiences are on repeat in your life. Don't just tolerate them, actively break them.
And she gives that really powerful affirmation for it, doesn't she?
Oh, it's a strong one. I now smash and demolish by my spoken word every untrue record in my subconscious mind. They shall return to the dust heap of their native nothingness, for they came from my own vain imaginings.
Wow, smash and demolish. Very active language.
It continues. I now make my perfect records through the Christ within, the records of health, wealth, love, and perfect self-expression. She calls this achieving the square of life, the game completed. It's a real declaration of taking control of your inner programming.
And this ties straight back to changing your words to change your reality. Proverbs again. Death and life are in the power of the tongue.
Exactly. Cultivating faith isn't passive wishing. It's actively choosing the words and thoughts you impress on your subconscious, especially when fear tries to take over.
Okay, so we've got words, imagination, faith over fear, shaping our inner landscape to affect the outer. What's the next big piece in Shinn's puzzle?
The next really profound concept is this idea of the divine design, and linked to that, perfect self-expression.
Right, we touched on the divine design earlier, the idea that there's a unique blueprint for everyone.
Exactly. Shinn firmly believed that for every single person, there's a perfect pattern, a specific place and purpose that only they are meant to fulfill.
And perfect self-expression is living that out, being fully aligned with that design.
Precisely. It's fulfilling that unique potential in the way you were specifically created to. And Shinn says this perfect plan naturally includes everything we truly want. Health, wealth, love, and that perfect self-expression.
The square of life again, leading to genuine happiness.
Right. And she suggests that when you start actively asking for this divine design to show up in your life, things might start changing significantly as you get realigned.
Might not be comfortable initially.
Maybe not. It could shake things up. But ultimately, it leads to a much more fulfilling path. And here's a key part. This perfect self-expression, when you find it, won't feel like drudgery.
It shouldn't feel like hard labor.
No. It should absorb you, be enjoyable, almost feel like play. And she believed we come into this world already financed by God, basically. The supply needed for your perfect self-expression will be there, made available through your spoken word and faith.
She tells that amazing story about the man with only 7 cents.
Yes, down to his last few pennies. He consciously gives one away and then specifically asks for his perfect self-expression and prosperity to be revealed.
And the outcome.
A job offer in another city, completely out of the blue. His life transformed, health, happiness, supply, all demonstrated because he took that step of faith towards his divine potential.
That's incredible. But she's clear it's not always about a big career, right?
Absolutely. Perfect self-expression could be being the perfect spouse, the perfect parent, creating a perfect home environment. It's about finding your unique, fulfilling role, whatever that looks like.
And she advises asking for definite leads to find that path.
Yes, ask for clear guidance. But interestingly, she cautions against trying too hard to visualize or force a specific mental picture of what it should look like.
Why is that? Isn't visualization often encouraged?
It is, but Shinn felt you should stay open. Expect flashes of inspiration, let the vision develop organically. Don't try to dictate the exact form. She used this great analogy.
Which one?
Like the telephone was seeking Bell just as much as Bell was seeking the telephone. The idea is that what you are seeking is also seeking you. Your purpose wants to be expressed through you.
That's a comforting thought. It takes some pressure off.
It does. And she extends this to parenting, too. Advises against parents pushing kids into specific careers.
Instead,
Speak the word for the child's divine plan to unfold, even prenatally. She suggests an affirmation like, let the God in this child have perfect expression. Let the divine design of his mind, body, and affairs be made manifest throughout his life, throughout eternity, trusting the potential within them.
this all seems to circle back to aligning your will with God's will, or the universal plan.
Very much so. She saw the Bible itself as largely being about releasing the subconscious from bondage, from limiting beliefs, to align with that higher plan. She even interpreted the battles.
Like David and Goliath.
Exactly. Not just historical fights, but metaphors for our inner war against negative mortal thoughts. We're all potentially David overcoming our own Goliath of doubt and fear through faith.
And she warns against burying your talents, like in the parable.
Strongly. There's a penalty, she says, for not using the abilities you've been given. Fear, stage fright, self-consciousness is a big barrier here. But again, spoken word can overcome it by realizing you're just a channel for infinite intelligence.
She had that story about the boy and his exams, right?
Yes. Perfect example. He asked for help, used an affirmation for arithmetic. I am one with infinite intelligence. I know everything I should know. And aced it.
But history?
Relied on himself, didn't use the affirmation, didn't do as well. Clear illustration of trusting the Father within.
And the student traveling. Smooth sailing when relying on guidance.
But problems when she got home and relied on her own logic again. It really highlights Shinn's advice to practice the presence of God every minute. Constantly stay connected to that inner guidance.
She also mentions that small incidents can be turning points.
Yes, don't dismiss the seemingly insignificant. And crucially, don't resist the how. Don't try to dictate the channel through which your good comes. Infinite intelligence has its own ways, my way, not your way.
We need to be a non-resistant engine.
Exactly. Just allow the power to work through you. This ties into standing still, trusting the process, not forcing things. She uses examples of financial wins and love found when people stop struggling and just allowed.
So poise equals power.
True toys, yes.
Yeah.
That inner calm and trust allows God's power through, enables clear thinking, right decisions. Anger, on the other hand, she saw as a huge block clouds vision, hurts health, hinders success.
And her definition of sin whatsoever is not of faith.
Right. Metaphysically, sin includes fear and worry. The work is driving these enemies out of the subconscious. She quotes Maeterlinck. Man is God afraid.
God afraid. Wow. So face the fear.
Confront it, and it loses its power. Like Jehoshaphat's army winning through praise, not fighting. Or the woman afraid to deliver a message, finding it resolved because she was willing and trusted divine protection.
What about feeling like things are incomplete? That feeling of waiting?
Big obstacle. She gives the affirmation. In divine mind, there is only completion. Therefore, my demonstration is completed. My perfect work, my perfect home, my perfect health. Claim the completion now in consciousness.
Assume it's already done spiritually.
Exactly. Your desire is a perfect idea in divine mind. It will manifest under grace. Your job is to actively prepare to receive it.
Like the student who finished her sewing project.
Yes. Realized her habit of leaving things unfinished mirrored her lack of financial completion. Finished the sewing, and boom, unexpected money arrived. It showed that God creates his own channels when one asks believing.
What if you have multiple talents? Feel pulled in different directions.
Ask for definite guidance on which one to focus on now. She shared stories of people suddenly stepping into new fields, fully equipped, the affirmation, "I am fully equipped for the divine plan of my life." Then grasp opportunities fearlessly.
And it's important to be a good receiver, too, not just a giver.
Crucial. She tells of a woman who refused a large gift out of pride or false humility, and soon found herself in debt for that exact same amount. It highlights the flow you need to be open to receiving as well as giving.
The bread returning upon the water idea. All gifts are ultimately from God.
Right. Don't block the flow by having thoughts of lack about the giver or feeling unworthy yourself. Become a good receiver, even of small things, to open those channels wider.
She briefly mentions reincarnation too, doesn't she? As a possible explanation for differing life circumstances.
She does touch on it, suggesting subconscious beliefs from past lives might play a role in why some are born rich, others poor, etc.
But she doesn't dwell on it.
No, her ultimate point is that birth and death are man-made concepts, laws on the mortal plane. Our true spiritual self is birthless and deathless, eternal.
And freedom comes from fulfilling that destiny.
Yes, manifesting the divine design. That's how we enter into the joy of the Lord. Like the faithful servant in the parable, it's about realizing our true potential.
Okay, so we've covered words, faith, divine design. The last major piece we wanted to explore was intuition, or guidance, as she calls it.
Yes, absolutely essential in her framework. She starts by echoing Scripture. "In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths."
Meaning, stay connected to that higher wisdom.
Constantly. She really believed nothing is too big or too difficult for someone who understands their word's power and follows their intuition.
The spoken word sets unseen forces in motion.
That's her view. Forces capable of rebuilding your body, remolding your affairs. Which is why, she stresses again, you have to choose your words carefully. Select your affirmations thoughtfully.
And remember, God is the source, the supply.
Always. The spoken word releases it. Ask and ye shall receive. But you have to make the first move. Draw nigh to God, and he will draw nigh to you. It's a partnership.
So how do you practically make a demonstration, as she puts it? How do you use intuition to get results?
Her method is quite clear. First, speak the word. Make your demand, your affirmation clearly and with faith. Then, wait.
Wait. Don't just rush out and do something.
Not necessarily. Wait for a definite lead, an intuitive nudge before you act. And actively ask for that lead. Ask Infinite Spirit to reveal the way, show you if there's anything you need to do.
And how does that lead come?
Could be anything. That gut feeling, a hunch, something someone says offhand that just clicks, a passage in a book that jumps out at you. Shinn found they often came with startling accuracy.
She gives that great example of the woman wanting a large sum of money.
Oh yeah, the $100 gift story. It's fantastic. She speaks her word for abundance, then gets this strong intuitive push to give $100, which might have been a significant amount for her then, to a friend.
Even though the friend didn't want to take it initially.
Right. But the woman knew it was her guidance. She followed through. And that very act of giving, prompted by intuition, opened the floodgates. Abundance flowed back to her, much more than the $100.
It shows that giving can unlock receiving, especially when guided.
Exactly. And it connects to tithing, that old practice of giving a tenth. Shinn notes many successful people are tithers. But the key is the spirit, giving with love, cheerfulness. God loveth a cheerful giver.
Even paying bills with a blessing.
Yes. Shift your mindset around money. See it as energy flowing. Blessing it as it goes out makes you its master, she believed, and opens a greater supply. Limited vision equals limited supply.
You have to align your vision with your actions too, right? Like the fur coat story.
Precisely. If you're affirming abundance but acting out of lack, you're sending mixed signals. You need congruent action.
And the woman seeking a job who smelled Palm Beach.
Another great example of a weirdly specific but accurate intuitive lead. She didn't just ask for a job. She asked for the right position, the divine selection, then followed that strange scent cue, and it led her directly to it.
Sometimes the guidance makes no logical sense at the time.
Often it doesn't, like Shinn's personal story of suddenly needing to go to a specific bakery. No reason, just an urge.
And it led to helping someone.
Exactly. She met someone there who needed exactly what she could offer. Intuition points the way, often without explaining why beforehand. Trust the nudge.
Leads can come during prayer or treatment, too, even if they seem unrelated.
Yes. She mentions some of God's leanings are mysterious, like the woman being treated for health who got the hunch to get her furniture out of storage.
How did that relate to health?
Shinn connected it to clearing congestion. Mental or emotional stagnation, like unused furniture representing stagnation, can lead to physical congestion, violating the law of use.
Mind-body connection is strong in her work.
Very. But she also adds a caution. Even with quick healing from realizing your divine pattern, you need to maintain right thinking. Go and sin no more to prevent recurrence. Cleanse the subconscious for permanent change.
She also warns strongly against condemnation, judging others.
Huge emphasis on this. Condemn not, lest ye also be condemned. She saw people attract the very things they harshly judged in others. Like picking up a live wire, she said. It harms you.
What about indecision, that feeling of being stuck?
Another stumbling block? Or affirmation for that? I am always under direct inspiration. I make right decisions quickly.
Yeah.
Train yourself to trust your inspired moments.
She also advises against seeking guidance from psychics or mediums.
Yes, she termed that the psychic plane, the realm of many minds, mortal thought, potentially tangled with negativity and illusion. She steered people towards their own inner divine guidance instead.
Same with things like numerology or horoscopes.
She felt they kept you on the karmic path, the plane of cause and effect based on past patterns, rather than aligning with your higher divine design. She believed you could overcome negative predictions with strong faith, like the man who defied his horoscope.
So neutralize negative prophecies.
Absolutely. Declare, every false prophecy shall come to naught. The divine idea now comes to pass. And consciously expect good messages, positive outcomes. The law of expectancy is powerful.
Ultimately, it's about aligning your will with the universal will. I will that the will of God be done.
Exactly. Trusting that God wants to fulfill your righteous desires. Your job is just to hold the perfect vision, unwaveringly, like the prodigal son making the effort to leave mortal thinking behind.
Faith takes effort sometimes. Fear can feel easier.
It often does. Spiritual awakening, she says, is realizing that outer chaos reflects inner chaos, like the student who mentally condemned someone and then almost got knocked over in immediate reflection.
So practice forgiveness. See the divine in others. Remember, wisdom's ways are ways of pleasantness.
Yes, and be ready for surprises. When you make demands on the universal supply, things might look like they're going wrong initially.
Like the $2,000 story.
Perfect example. The woman denied the loss, faced seemingly bad landlord issues. But those very issues paved the way for her to miraculously receive the exact $2,000 back. It proved that apparent injustice can be the channel for your good.
And that all that is rightfully yours can be collected.
Yes. She ends that section with the promise, I will restore to you the years the locusts have eaten.
Defining locusts as doubts, fears, resentments.
All the things that rob us.
Yeah.
Ultimately, she says, you are your own benefactor or detriment. Your purpose is to prove God by bringing plenty from lack, justice from injustice. Test the divine abundance.
Wow. Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive, let's just quickly recap the core teachings we've explored from Florence Scovel Shinn.
We covered the incredible creative power packed into our words.
The absolute necessity of choosing faith, actively cultivating it to overcome fear.
That guiding concept of unique divine design for each of us.
And the vital importance of listening to and, crucially, acting on our intuition.
And that powerful quote really sums up all of it. Faith knows it has already received. It's about holding that conviction, that inner knowing, before you see the physical proof.
It really is amazing how these ideas from 1925 connect so directly to modern concepts like manifestation, isn't it?
It truly is. Speaks to the timeless nature of these principles. They just keep resonating.
So, for anyone listening who feels inspired, maybe wanting to try some of this out, what are a few simple takeaways?
Well, you could start small. Maybe consciously use that smash and demolish affirmation when you catch negative self-talk.
Yeah, actively challenge those old records.
Or just make a point today to ask for intuitive guidance on something. And then really pay attention. Be open to however it might show up. A feeling, a sign, a random thought.
Even just affirming alignment with your divine design. Maybe saying something like, Infinite Spirit, show me my perfect path clearly. That alone can feel empowering.
Definitely. And it helps to remember the context Shinn was writing in early 20th century. Lots of change, uncertainty, her message of inner resourcefulness, finding power within.
Must have been incredibly resonant then, and clearly it still is today.
Absolutely. So we really encourage you listeners to reflect. How do these ideas sit with you? Where in your own life might you apply some of these principles?
Maybe become more mindful of your words. Consciously choose faith when fear creeps in.
Yeah. And we genuinely love to hear your reflections or experiences if you feel like sharing. It always deepens the understanding to hear how these things land for different people.
And maybe one final thought to chew on, something Shinn points towards.
Go on.
Could it be that really understanding and applying these principles actually starts to shift your perception of reality itself, from seeing the world as this fixed material thing?
To seeing it as more fluid, more responsive to our inner state, our words, our beliefs.
Exactly. Maybe reality isn't quite as solid as we think. It's a pretty profound idea to explore further on your own.
It really is. Well, thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the timeless wisdom of Florence Scovel Shinn.
We really hope it's given you some valuable insights, maybe some practical tools for navigating your own game of life with a bit more awareness, intention, and maybe a renewed sense of what's possible.